Hello, and today I'm going to be showing you the pure Mitsurugi deck for the new format that I've created. Starting off with the main deck level 4s, I'm going to play 3 Aramasa, 1 Surgi, 1 Kusanagi, 1 Night Sword Serpent. I think this is the best ratios for pure deck. You need the Night Sword Serpent because rank 4 plays is your main way of going first and still ending on a good board, because this deck can struggle a bit with its board getting broken, I've found, so playing the Night Sword Serpent to really help, even though it's a bit of a brick. Very good. Kusanagi, obviously include at 1 because it adds ritual back. You don't play more because it's very bad to start off normal Kusanagi. If you've got Kusanagi plus a prayers, it can do okay, because if you don't have much else, Kusanagi tribute prayers tribute Kusanagi to add the prayers back, so you can use it next turn even if it prayers are negated. Can be an okay play. Play the 1 Sargi 3 Aramasa. Seen some people play 2 and 2, or some people would just play like 1 Aramasa, 2 Sargi. I think that it's better to have the guaranteed starter, and the fact that Sargi just isn't that good by itself, and only really good if you draw it plus one of like 3 other cards in the deck. Moving on to the rituals, I play 3 Habakiri, 2 Murakumo, and 1 Futsu. The only real difference to some decks is the second Murakumo. Even though it's a bit of a brick, it's good to have like more of the rituals, because if I'm playing more copies of Mitsurugi Ritual, it's very nice to be able to just immediately summon out these. But the second one really helps in the grind game as well, so that even if one gets banished, you've still got another, because this is what your whole deck centers around. And the main reason this deck is good at the moment, because this card is just absolutely insane into Yummy, because they can't chain anything to dodge it. Moving on to the spell traps for the Mitsurugi package. Play 3 prayers, 3 ritual, 1 mirror, 1 Magatama, and 1 great purification. On the great purification, solely because of Frost, because this is a board break approach. The Magatama, I think, is a must include if playing pure. It's very good if you've just got something like Murakumo in hand to be able to disrupt your opponent by ritual summoning it. The pop is also very nice. Could be used during your turn, during opponent's turn. Mirror, of course, must include for pre-prep, and is also just very good at recycling itself. It isn't if anything's attributed, it's just if a named ritual's attributed. Something I did forget once. Mitsurugi Ritual itself, it's broken if you draw it with a ritual, but if you don't draw the ritual, have a way to it, it can feel pretty bad sometimes. I do like to play with 3 of it though, because you've got so much access to drawing the rituals with stuff like Extrav, with stuff like pre-prep, with stuff like the 3 Aramasa, because Aramasa add it and then go ritual, which is also a good reason not to play extra Sagis, because if you've got the ritual itself, you don't really need for Sagi. 3 prayers. Prayers is just one of the best rotas in the game. Quick play, so you can dodge Droll. Another good reason for this deck is that Droll is non-existent game 1. Like, I haven't seen any lists which play it, main deck it. So you can pretty much consistently win game 1 because of the no Droll, because going first is so good. Going second, this deck can just do a lot of stuff. Games 2 and 3 is where it gets a little bit more tricky, which I'll show you my side deck. I've like got a few things for it. Prayers being able to tribute the rituals in the draw phase can be nice sometimes, but I prefer not to do it, especially if you've got a thrust plus a triple tactics talents. Play 1 nib, just so you can add it off Gallant Granite. Only hand trap in the deck. It sometimes can do good things if you're going second, but I found hand traps just weren't too great, because if you want to draw, if you're drawing like a 6th card Fuvawas, like it just doesn't feel good at all. Which I know is rare, but you just want to be as consistently winning game 1 as possible, and all your cards want to be playable for that to happen. For the consistency spells, play 3 pre-prep. Feels absolutely amazing if it's resolves, because mirror can tribute a ritual, summon a ritual. If you summon like a mirror combo, you're like wiping the field, adding something, you're like off to the races. And also, even if you draw the mirror, mirror can shuffle itself back. You can still use the pre-prep, which is why it's so good in this deck. I play 3 Extrav and 1 Prosperity. I do think it's correct to play 4 pots, because seeing a pot is basically what you need to do when you're going second, because like any of them, like you're getting a specific piece of like non-engine to deal with their board, and with Extrav, drawing 2 is just like so much card advantage, and it's just like really good if they don't have draw, which is a reason you could choose to bring out games 2 and 3, but I think just drawing into more of your power spells to help break their boards is just must include for me. There is quite a high chance that if you're using Extravagance, you're going to draw another Extravagance of Prosperity. I think it might be somewhere around 40%, but I think it's worth it to just be able to draw extra cards, even if you're drawing into one of the other pots. Like, it's worth it to just play more so you always have a pot. They, of course, can't both be used on the same turn, which is an issue. Next, for the Thrust package, 1 Dark Ruler, 1 Talents, 3 Thrust. I think 1 Dark Ruler this format, because it isn't very good into the other Mitsurugi decks, and Draco Tail. Talents you have to play if you're playing Thrust, and then of course I play the Mitsurugi Trap to set off Thrust. I think most of the time you are going to be getting to a level 5 Ritual Monster, and it's not like you can play something like a Black Goat last in this deck, because it just isn't really a way to discard it. Otherwise I probably would be playing it. But I do quite like Thrust. It's not too great into Dracotail specifically, because they can use both their traps before using like a Thymina or Malulu or Seals, which means like you're not getting the Thrust or the Talents till quite late on. But because some decks will be playing hand traps, it can be used a bit earlier sometimes. For the 6 main board breakers, play 3 Eclipse and 1 free Sales Ban. Eclipse is really nice. Another reason to play Viramasa, because it just can't get stopped as a starter like very easily, because Eclipse stops Imperms, Veilers. If you're going second, you can even normal summon your Aramasas effect, and then you can just chain Eclipse if they chain something to get like double the advantage, because you're also like turning off their board. Not very good. It can get ashed. That's one thing I will say. That was like another reason to not play Fuvawas, because I think about half the time you draw Fuvawas, it's just getting negated anyway. So then it feels like you've just got a negative a card. If you've drawn a board breakers, if you've drawn 2 board breakers, you'd have broke their field anyway. But drawing like a Fuvawas and 1 board breaker, if they've negated a Fuvawas, you've 1 board breaker might not be able to do enough. So I think that's very good like argument to play the 3 Eclipse. But the Eclipse, of course, is very hurt by the Ash Blossom, not as much by like a Cold Bar or something. And then the Sales Ban, probably the most interesting card in this deck. I think Sales Ban is a very good place in this format, because it's very good into basically the top 3 decks, which I would consider Mitsurugi, Yummy, and Draco Tail. Into Yummy, you can go Sales Ban called Snatchy, and it turns off all their synchro plays for the turn. Or if you want to, you can go and call like something like a cookie, the synchro, I mean, and then that can like stop the set. The set isn't too disadvantaged in this deck, because tributing is so like abundant that the setting doesn't really matter. But if you want to get rid of a herald because you don't want like your stuff to go to the banished, like you want to send a night sword serpent with a mitsurugi ritual, it is also better to call Snatchy, because calling him herald, they're just going to leave it on the field, and this only negates activated effects. Against Draco Tail, which is the main deck I wanted this for, Thymina is just such a good card because like it's so hard to interact with it. Like it's always just going to be like a threat. Like Thymina sent like Malulu plus like an Urgula or a Pan is just going to be like wiping your field. So like really good thing they can do is if you go ritual, they can go Thymina, sending a Malulu to then like negate your ritual effect on summon. So like you can't wipe their board. So playing Salesman is really nice to just preemptively stop the Thymina. You can of course also call Flame to just force it out like immediately if you've drawn like another board breaker you like. But I'd try and bait out the Flame first to try and hit the Thymina. It does get a bit tricky if they've also got a Seals, a Malulu or Cartesia up on field because they have the second way to fuse. But those are a lot easier to deal with because they're on field, you can destroy them, you can negate them, which is why I think Salesband is pretty good for this format. Now moving on to the extra deck. The extra deck is a lot of free choices, but you do have to be playing extra cards for the extra. So if you're picking like your main cards, I would play them at 2 because I think that it's very rare you're not going to be able to do much if like something gets hit by the extra. These are your links in the deck. So if it, say both the IPs get hit by the extra, you can still end on a Dynamundo or an SP and that can do stuff. If your SPs get hit, you can go IP into Dynamundo. And if your Dynamundo gets hit, you've still got IP into SP, so you can still do stuff, and which is why I think playing 2 is better. You do want to have the utility for these, so playing the extra one helps a lot. The Dark, the main thing it's used for is to just summon back a Dark to go into SP during your turn, but I found it's actually a phenomenal card in a mirror match, purely because you can take one of their things, like even if you're taking like a Sargi to go try and search, and the best thing about this is they can't destroy it, so they can't Murakuma while it's on field, because like if they're Murakuma while it's on field, this can add a Murakumo from deck to hand because it adds a Dark with 1500 or less defense, and Murakumo has 800 defense. So you can add any of your level 4s or Murakumo. So it kind of like shuts off like some of their disruption if you've just left it on field. So I don't mind like leaving on field in that matchup. Moving on to the Exceeds, which is where main of your going first power is going to be the IPSP plus the Exceeds. So 2 Gallant Granite to get Nib. I do want to always be able to search Nib because having hand disruption, which your opponent can't like get rid of easily, is like very important because like everything else is on field for you, which means like some cards can just like really hose you if they're playing like some board breakers. The Granite does have a secret second effect that like can help you go for game. But if you have the Nib in hand already, it can special rock from your hand, so you can like summon the Nib to then like tribute it off a Habakiri because it summons in face down defense, which is pretty cool. I don't think I've seen that used before there. Got Dugaras. Dugaras, all 3 effects are good in this deck. The Battle Phase 1, of course, is like the worst, but I do like to use it sometimes, like doubling a Murakumo's attack to attack him for game is pretty good. Of course, doubling a Murakumo, you might have to tribute it later, so it's not optimal. The Draw 2 is very nice to like dig for more board breakers, I find. And also, if you're going first, both your Granites are banished, you can, and you want to go into the IP, you might want to just do Garas, dig for like follow up, and even maybe like a Book of Eclipse or like triple tactics, talents or thrust if your opponent's used like a hand trap. Can be nice. Courtesy of a ban list, we've got the Zodiac package, which is for Chakanine and Madrident. It will be on 0 attack with Trident, but I think it's a pretty good interruption because every turn we've got 3 turns of just popping a card. It is face ups, which is a bit annoying because there's lots of face down spell traps at the moment. But I think in simpler game states and just ending on it turn 1, it can be very useful. Of course, if one of these get banished off the extra, both of them are just irrelevant. So that doesn't feel great if you've just got useless cards in your extra deck after the extra. But I think it is a bit better than the Atagnista card because it's a quick effect. Got the 1 Tornado Dragon, mainly to hit like face down like yummy surprises, just to force them out, to hit like field spells, to hit Dracotail Flames. Be a very good card. You also can just go into this overdrive and lots of the time just because it has attack points. You can just swing in to try and OTK. It's very nice. It's just a fun card, really. Good into lots of matchups. Got Baguska. It's pretty good into a lot of things, but it's not amazing into really much except the Dracotail matchup and the mirror match. There is a cool thing you can do with this, that if you've been comboing, you've got like a Ritual on field, 2 level 4s, and you maybe got like the trap cards or like something like a Magatama. You can just summon a Baguska and just sit on it for a turn. You might have like a negate or like a pop with a Magatama or the purification, and then just being able to synergize the negate or a pop with a Baguska normally keeps it up. So in lots of matchups, you can just wait out a turn, change it to attack, and then start doing all the plays again. Cover 1 Typhon. You do get into a great amount of simplified game states, especially with all the board breakers. You can be clearing your opponent's field, but then just not have much else, and even your opponent might not have much left either. So Typhon can really win those game states. Typhon, of course, is very good against Dracotail because it stops Arphalion. And if they don't have anything banished, it also stops Mysterion and Sectarion, which is very nice. But you've just got to be aware that if anything's banished, it's not original attack, so they're going to be dropping down below the Typhon threshold. Moving on to the side deck, we've got the 1 Wusu, which is normally coming for the Great Purification because it's just good into pretty much every matchup except the Mitsu Mirror match. Another really good thing about it is it's just so searchable off like an Aramasa or like any of the rituals. And something I like to do, go Habakiri, summon Aramasa, tribute it, add Wusu. So then you can just go Wusu, tribute off the Habakiri in hand. So then you can still get a search and you get rid of opponent's card. And like it can combo because if you're searching ritual, you can tribute this off to go summon from deck. Next, mainly into the Dracotail and the mirror match, I've got the spell trap removal. I just found that lots of decks which didn't really much care about the sales ban, didn't care about the Book of Eclipse, and you could get rid of some of your going first card, you'd like to bring in spell trap removal into lots of those decks. The Lightning Storm is of course at 3 now. I think it's not that good to bring in if your opponent, like if you're just hoping to destroy a tap position once. It's only really like another copy of Duster, which is a bit worse. The Evenly is probably the best out of all 7 of these, because Evenly is actually so good in Dracotail because Flame cannot negate traps. So you can just go battle phase, you can just clear off all their traps or like most of their cards. The one thing they can do if they have a Heretic Seals, they can tribute it, bounce back like one of their extra deck guys, and then on the new chain they can summon out a Malulu. So you've got to be aware of that if they've got the seals, but you want something else to deal with a Malulu. We've got the 2 more Dark Rulers. So if you're playing into a deck which puts up a lot of negates, like a Canine Crystron, if anyone's still running that, or Malice, it can just be like the best board breaker into those decks. I don't like to run it in a main deck because like into Yummy it seems very good on surface, but like the only real thing you're doing is really stopping the heralds, because like the surprise is just going to give the statue access anyway. Now, because we play so many board breakers, and also we really want to win if we get drolled in game 3, we're going to play a lot of going first cards. So it's 1 judgment, 2 strike, 1 anti-spell, 1 D-barrier. Anti-spell is so good. I don't know how this card hasn't been banned yet. There's so many decks which just use spells to combo, like Yummy, it murders, Dracotel, it murders, the Mirror Match, it murders, because they all need spells to combo. Like, they can't do stuff if they don't have spells. Judgment is really just to stop like them like hitting you with like any of these cards, because like if they're trying to wipe your back row, because like lots of the time you're going to be ending up with like lots of back row, so your opponent might just think you like have a lot of back row in your deck, because like if you're setting Book of Eclipse, if you're setting like Magatama, Prayers, Great Purification, lots of time I'm going to be boarding in like the spell trap removal. You need like Judgment to like second way to stop that. The Strike, I think, is just like the third best going first card. I think that if you want, you could play Called By instead of one of these strikes, because it does help you into Fuvawas, but I think this deck's good enough into Fuvawas. You can give them 1 draw and just end on all your Mixu spell traps and just hope that's enough. And D-barrier, I found that lots of the time, if you're playing against the Mirror Match or if you're playing against Dracotail, you want to take out the Nib, of course, because like if you're playing with Mirror, it's just going to help them. Dracotail never plays into Nib. D-barrier is the best card to bring in most decks because it completely kills them. Against Yummy, I still like this, and I'd probably still bring it in. Against Canine Crystron, you could consider bringing it in. Of course, it doesn't do too much. It like if they've gone the Canine stuff on your turn, then like calling it Seas feels like a bit bad. Calling Synchros, like they can play like just the Canine cards and not really Synchro summon too much. So it's like a bit awkward sometimes, but just playing the 1 for the thrust feels really good. So anyway, that's the deck. I don't play, of course, for Fuvawas, as I've mentioned, so this deck is actually extremely budget. I think it's around £100. I think online it was somewhere roughly around €100 on Card Market. Of course, this doesn't include shipping, so it's probably the cheapest deck in the format besides Yummy, and I think Yummy is just going to be so heavily teched against in sideboards, main decks, that it's just not going to be nice to be playing Yummy. And of course, it is just more of a boring strategy than this. Like this deck, you're just going to be breaking boards. Your boards are going to be like quite fair, so you're going to get lots of like very interactive games. The deck isn't that slow, so you still play well under the new time rules, and it benefits a lot by going to be able to use prayers in game 3 now. So overall, I think the deck is very good for the upcoming formats, and I'd highly suggest trying it out. The deck list will be in the description. There should be a YGO Pro deck, like our link, and there should also be a dueling book link. Okay. Bye.